All right, guys, can you hear me? Testing one, two, three. Anybody out there? Hello, Super Dave. What's happening? Another oarfish? Uh-oh, those are bad omens. They say the oarfish is a bad omen, and that indicates. All right, guys, can you? That indicates a big earthquake, is what they say. Big, massive earthquakes, because these oarfish dwell. They dwell deep. They dwell deep. Dwell dweep. They dweep. They dwell very deep into the ocean depths. And when seismic activity is happening on the planet, they somehow sense it and they come to the surface. They say that that's what happens because anytime there's been massive earthquakes, the Japan earthquake in particular, the Indonesian quake, there was sightings of these oarfish that would come to the surface because they're not supposed to be on the surface. They're supposed to be way down deep, like in the abyss. Kind of like when the phoenix rises out of the abyss from political mortal head wounds and miraculously shows the world how awesome these miracles are to bring peace, security. I want to just tell you guys this. None of this has taken me by surprise. I have been warning and warning to ad nauseum to many people's chagrin. And many people have thought I was just a fearmonger or that I was just making this up to try to make a sale. Nope. And I have always told you from the very beginning about our store, our preparedness and survival store is prophetic. It's a prophetic message that I believe God called me to put up for this moment as a sign. It is a sign to everyone. And we've talked about the potential and the not if but when moment when we would be on the brink of nuclear holocaust. I even told my mother, and I told you guys this a while back, if my mom's watching, I told her when Biden came in, I said, do you want nuclear war and not have Trump in? Not to say that I'm a fan of Trump, because I'm not, and many of you guys know. But my mom had told me, she said, no, I'd rather have nuclear war. I gave her a choice. I said, if Biden comes in, he brings nuclear war, would you rather have wanted Trump? No, I'd rather have Biden. That's what she said. And I've talked about the uniparty globalist agenda from behind the shadows lurking over the affairs of humanity on planet Earth, how they're preparing for these great reset cataclysmic events that are in our future and are just about now to happen. I don't know if you saw the video. I want to post this. This is a very important emergency update. This is very, very important to understand the reality of this. This is not a video game. This is not a video game. This is not a simulation. This is not, watching on your news what's happening across the world. This is going to happen here in America. I don't know if they're going to send in the big ones yet, but I'll bet they're going to hit us first with a cyber attack. And I'll bet that our grid is going to go down. We're going to have problems with cell phone service. We're going to have power problems. We're going to have water, critical infrastructure issues. And it's going to be so that everybody knows, banking issues. All this is going to happen. And Shara says that we've had an emergency update alarm today. Now, was that on your phone, Shara? They're warning everybody all over the world right now about the possibilities of nuclear war. Now, all of our embassies are being evacuated out of Ukraine, not just our embassies, but embassies around the world. They are expecting a huge retaliation. And I'm going to tell you what, I'm within the next 24 hours, you're going to see it hit the fan so hard. Russia is going to make a very loud and bold and courageous statement. This is according to their statements. They said, if we all die in a nuclear holocaust, this is what they said publicly to the world, we'll be martyrs because they believe that they're a Christian nation. They believe that they're, gone back to their Orthodox roots, right? They believe they will be martyrs and you will be dead. That's what they said, because they are fighting infidels according to their mindset of their Orthodox Christian faith. And Putin supposedly has a cross and is not an atheist. He says that we will be martyrs and you will be dead. Now, I don't know if you saw the video footage. This is just for your consideration here. Let's take a look at this footage. This just happened inside of Russia. And these are U.S. weapons. Okay, manned by U.S. personnel. These are not being done just by Ukrainians. They are blaming the U.S. for this. Okay? Inside of Russia. This is inside of Russia. This just happened. These are called ATACMS. I was calling them ATACMS. They're called ATACMS. Okay? These go very far distances deep into the heart of Russia. And this just happened. Please pay attention to what Russia is now fixing to do to the West. We're talking about Europe, and I believe we're talking about specifically the U.S. This is coming very quickly, okay? Pay close attention.
Я в машине сидел, выбежал аж. Во. Ебать, блядь. Взрывают сейчас. Вон там дым идет. Еще они там забомбили. Еще один прилет летит. Ебать нахрен. Вот это взрывы, а. Серег, хрен его знает. Мы, наверное, сейчас ломанемся отсюда. Ебать, бля. Пиздец, хрен знает. Я здесь сейчас, бля. Ебать, бля, пиздец. Ебать, блядь, пиздец. Дым идет, сука, везде. Прямо на помаре нахреначат, бля. Не знаю, бля. Хуй знает, где сейчас пацаны там. Ебать нахрен, сука. Вот это взрывы. Именно Марина наша взрывает, бля. Именно. Ебать нахрен, сука. Пиздец, Серега. Бля, нам надо ломиться оттуда, Серега, бля. Я хрен его знает. Прям по наш, здесь на нашу территорию взрывают, там хрен его знает. Вояки вон здесь, бля. Именно что сюда стреляют, бля. Хрен его знает, что за прилеты, бля, это были. Везде вон дым идет. Ебать нахрен, бля. Серега, здесь что-то, бля, нездоровая канитель, бля. Не знаю, где там бомбили, но прям на территории хреначили там, ближе к охране. Так что как-то так, Серега, хрен его знает, бля.
All right, so that just happened. Now, they're expecting a vicious and a very powerful statement from Russia to the world about these weapons that are being delivered to Ukraine. They are going to hit Ukraine so hard, it's going to make the whole world stand back in awe. This is what it's going to be. It's going to be a shock and awe thing. I'm just going to tell you that this is coming within the next 24 hours, probably very, very soon. if it's not already happening. Guys, it's not going to be just Europe. It's not going to be just Ukraine and the European countries that are supplying this, because I think these might have been storm shadows, but we have I think they were storm shadows. They could have been ATACMS, but either way, the U.S. is implicated because we give the go-ahead even to Britain to use and to send those weapons and to allow the Ukrainians to use them. So it's all coming back onto the U.S. It's all going to come back to be the responsibility of the U.S. Because really, U.S. oversees NATO, if you really go down to the whole brass tacks of what's happening. And I believe that Russia is going to do something to America. And this is why I have been talking and preparing and trying to get people's attention for quite some time, because I know where this is going. You know, I know there's a lot of analysts out there, and a lot of people are telling you this scenario or that scenario, and there's a possibility. I already knew in my gut, and I believe it's the Lord himself that guides our discernment, as many of you out there have, the Spirit of the Lord that shows you things, whether it's through dreams or visions or just words of wisdom and just insights, right? God gives us insights. And Scripture is very clear about that. I will do nothing except that I first reveal my secrets unto my servants. And if you're one of his servants, then you can expect God to reveal things to you. And we've been expecting this for some time and have been preparing accordingly and have tried to be getting our audience's attention and being prepared accordingly as well. And we have a store that has all the tools that you're going to need, especially for you who are in cities. If you're dwelling in a city, and with all the things that we're talking about, especially in our back channels, but we've talked about the whole constellation messaging that's coming from the heavens. We've talked about that. And it would be very important for all of you out there listening to really understand what I'm trying to say and not just, take it for some other opinion about the end times. I believe these are biblically guided thoughts and interpretations that I believe are being disclosed right now in these times that we're in. Some would say, oh, well, are we really in that period? I really think that we are. I really think that we're in that period right now where we're going to be seeing war on a wide scale. And unless we're right in the beginning of this period or kind of in the midst of it, where Trump comes in and makes this peace agreement or somehow gets a false sense of peace, because the Bible does talk about when they're saying peace, peace. Now, I've been looking at the news right now, and there's all these calls for peace right now, and there's all the de-escalation, and Trump's going to come in and make it better, and blah, blah, blah. But I think that what we might see is a very big, huge escalation that shocks the world, puts everybody in fear, and then Trump comes in and allays those fears in some way, kind of brings about some order out of all this. And that's when all these new technologies are going to be ushered in to the United States and then exported to the world, and a lot of other information that we've looked at. I think that might be the scenario that we see unfold here real soon. But I do believe it precedes all of that rollout is preceded by like shock and awe. Like the whole world is going to be shocked at what's coming. And I'm not exactly sure how that's going to pan out. I don't know if it's going to be, a massive depopulation event like we've never seen before, possibly using nukes, or power grid down, infrastructure shut off. And we're seeing movements of massive amounts of troops right now and nuclear weapons. There's also information now coming out just in the last few hours. Let me just show you really quickly here. And if you're not connected to our Telegram page, it's one of the most important Telegram pages you probably want to be connected to that's compiling information, and it's giving some commentary on what's happening. And I try to tell you guys, get ready and be prepared by watching what we're posting, because this is like predictions that have come true one after another after another. And I know we have a lot of people watching, but we don't have the amount of people that need to be watching for people to understand on a wider scale of how serious of a situation this is, and how it's been accurately predicted. And what we're now saying is coming. You better be listening. You better be listening. NBC News Agency is now purporting that nuclear missile movements in the middle of Moscow are happening right now. They're evacuating. Countries all over the world now are evacuating Kiev. They're afraid that they're going to nuke it. They're showing on Russian TV what it will look like when Europe is attacked with nuclear weapons from Russia. Simulated attacks on Russian TV. They've already been delivering and showing on the news now in the last 2 days these pods that are nuclear fallout shelters that they're delivering in mass to the civilian population inside of Russia. Countries inside of Europe now are passing out pamphlets to their citizenry, millions of people, preparing them for nuclear conflict and war, and also recruitment. Sweden in particular, 16 years old, up to 70-year-olds, 16 years old to 70-year-olds, getting them ready for the draft and participation in defending their country. Iran just hacked Israel's blockchain network, which is supposedly supposed to be unhackable, right? That's just like all the hundreds of billions of dollars that have been confiscated and is now in possession of the U.S. government, where Trump has now stated that money will be used to bring a foundation to our economic exceptionalism and our oversight of the global world reserve currency status that we used to have, and having that influence economically like we used to have over the globe. We're going to use Bitcoin. I mean, it just sounds like a scheme to me, but it is hackable. Look at what just happened. 8 terabytes of information was obtained, and that's a huge amount of data. They said that the Secret Service of Israel, Mossad, uses this network to pay its operators in other countries. And now Iran has access to all this information. That means they may have addresses and credit card and everything else that goes along with that in order to use these cryptocurrency, networks. Sirens are now sounding in the Ukrainian capital of Kiev after U.S. warning of a violent Russian missile attack. You don't think that Russia's not going to respond after this video that you just saw here? And violently? What are they going to send in now? Look at what the Russians are doing right now. Russian channels are now reporting that Russia will test RS-26 Rubez. They're decommissioned, but they're intercontinental ballistics missiles that are going to be equipped with conventional warheads, quote unquote. What kind of conventional warheads? And they're gonna send these to Ukraine. They're en route to Ukraine. I mean, sending them in terms of launching them. By the way, did you see Jay Leno, how bad he looks? I mean, this dude is black and blue from head to toe. You got to see this video, man. It's just absolutely crazy. He fell down. He rolled down a 60-foot hill. He actually fell over a cliff. So, I'm surprised that he didn't die. He looks like he could have died with all the injuries he has. Okay, this is our new post on Patron. We're going to be watching a documentary and involved in conversations and explanations and a deeper dive on all this information that has to do with the occult origins and also the purpose that was intended by the founders for America's ultimate sacrifice for the global New World Order that is upon us even now, and how it has to do with the Masonic rituals of invoking Apollo upon our leaders, upon our presidents, and how they believe that at a certain point in our history, as this is being ushered in for the whole world, this global order, as you can see on our dollar bill, you know, what it says there in under the all-seeing eye of Horus, that there is going to be a certain president that will be fully possessed by Apollo. But they all have an invoking. Every president from the time of George Washington has had this ritual being done right out of D.C. And it's very interesting because it's very annotated and it's very, very well researched. And we're going to be talking a lot about that. So get ready for all you patrons out there. Get set up with us on Patron. You can find the links below if you want to get connected. Russia and China have slammed the U.S. for blocking a Gaza ceasefire today in the United Nations. So this is another major issue that is causing an escalating global war and tension. And I told you a little while ago, if you'll remember, Israel is going to get the attention off of what they're doing onto the U.S. Remember I told you that? All of this is going to come around and it's going to be focused on the U.S. And there's going to be so many events that people are going to forget about what Israel's doing. Did I tell you that? Did I not tell you that? They're sending us out in the front lines. We're going to be dealing with a couple of different fronts, not just Russia, but also Iran, probably North Korea. And who knows, God knows who else, possibly China, in our back door here, and and they are, by the way, in our backyard. They're in Mexico. They're in, South America. They're setting it all up, and they've been sending in all kinds of men of fighting age from China over the borders. Did you see the huge caravan that's fixing to come over here real soon to try to anticipate the closure of the border by Trump? Massive amounts of people now in preparation to flood into our country over that porous border. I think they just gave the door open to Trump. Did you see how Biden invited Trump to the White House and basically expressed his great, deep appreciation and love for the process of peaceful transfer of power? Trump just looked dumbfounded. He's just sitting there like, what? This is amazing. Why are they doing it? Well, it's because they know they're about to implode the whole system. The whole everything is about, it's what they call scorched earth policy. They're about to implode and detonate this whole, it's all going to come down. And who's going to be standing there when it does? If it doesn't happen before he gets in? Trump. Okay. And all those who he represents, right? And maybe this is all part of the plan. Like I said, I think it is a part of a plan, because this is kind of what we saw way in advance happening. Unconfirmed reports that are circulating that Putin could make an announcement similar to the one that he made the 22nd of February 2022, where he said, I will begin what I said in my address on February 21st, 2022. I spoke about our biggest concerns and worries and about the fundamental threats which irresponsible Western politicians created for Russia consistently, rudely, and unceremoniously from year to year. I am referring to the eastward expansion of NATO, which is moving its military infrastructure even closer to the Russian border. And this was a promise that NATO made that they never kept, and they continued to push the envelope closer and closer, and now look what's happening. Russia, in their minds, are justified for every massive rocket and intercontinental ballistic missile they send westward. The U.S. is sending another $275 million in security assistance to Ukraine. Traffic on the Kerch Bridge has been halted, and they're probably anticipating attacks from these missiles that have been given to them by the U.S. and NATO. And Russia, if anything happens to that bridge, I'm just telling you guys, we are this close to seeing the Russians go off, like, massively. And I think they'll probably pull out their massive conventionals first, but who knows? I mean, they could be launching nukes too. This might be the reason why all these embassies are evacuating Ukraine right now. The embassy of Kazakhstan in Ukraine called on its citizens to leave the country. The British embassy in Kiev now warns that it may be closed, depending on the developing situation. And this was the visual that we shared with you. Russian channels are reporting that the retaliation is well beyond what's being expected, and people should be prepared for the deteriorating situation. So they're saying it's going to be much worse than what people are expecting. Not what I'm expecting. I'm expecting the worst. Spain and Italy and Greece have additionally closed their embassies in Kiev, citing an imminent, significant attack by Russia. The attack can come within the next 48 hours. UK, France, and Italy, Poland, UK, France, Germany, and Poland have been informed of the situation. The U.S. embassy in Kiev has been closed until further notice. U.S. intelligence has received information of an imminent, significant aerial attack on Ukraine. What'd they expect? I mean, this was all part of tit for tat. I mean, we should have expected it, right? Ukraine launches UK-supplied Storm Shadow missiles into Russia. Storm Shadow missiles been launched. And this has to do with Pluto yesterday. And as all this was kicked off, Pluto entered into Aquarius to stay until 2043, I believe. So they're saying Pluto is the god of the underworld. It's the god of Hades. It's the god of chaos and destruction. And doesn't it say in the book of Revelation that the rider of the fourth horse, and this is why we believe we're in the fourth horse. Many of those horses, the first three, and even coming into the fourth, are overlapping, and they all are happening at certain points concurrently, but escalating as time goes on until the fourth horse, where the fourth horse actually is comprised of all three in an extreme billowing mushroom cloud. So the fourth horse is death, and Hades follows close behind, right? The fourth horse, death, and Hades follows close behind. Hades is Pluto, and it enters into Aquarius, right? The god of the underworld, and also Hades. That's what Pluto represents. So, destruction, chaos. Once again, the prediction we made a week before, October 7th, destruction, war, chaos. And that was because of the Revelation 12 sign directed at Israel, which we predicted accurately. And now we also predicted from this last Revelation 12 sign on Yom Kippur. The first one in October 7th was on Rosh Hashanah. This one happened on Yom Kippur, with the comet going through the Revelation 12 sign once again in Virgo. This time we said it portended trouble for U.S. and what is about to happen here. And that has to do with our economy, and it has to do with Mercury being in the constellation at the same time, which I believe is a significant unfolding event that is now wholly underway, the transfer of the global economy's power to the BRICS. And this is going to be preceded in confirmation and a closing. It's kind of like the capstone or what completes it is going to be these attacks from Russia on the Western interests. It's going to completely implode our economy. And that's going to be the death knell of the influence, and everybody's going to know it. The whole world is going to see that influence over global commerce, world reserve currency status, its influence and its connection to oil, Saudi Arabia and the OPEC, it's all gone. Okay, no more checks that we can't back up. We can't write checks that our mouths now can't cash. We can't cash them. Okay, we are bankrupt. Completely, utterly bankrupt. And this whole economy collapse is upon us. And Trump says he's going to fix it with crypto by making us a crypto, capital of the world. Psh, are you serious? How are you going to eat cryptocurrencies when all the commodities have been stockpiled for the last 5 years because of anticipation of this moment by Russia and China and all these other countries? Wheat, sugar, flour, coffee, all the metals for industrial production, gold, silver. They've got it all set up for global war. But what do? We export all that. We send all of our good things to them. But we're living on a wing and a prayer and on some kind of paper asset that we somehow think or some digital number that says that we're rich through cryptos. And when the plug is pulled, how are you going to get your crypto out? And seriously, you're not going to be able to barter cryptos when all said and done. The guy who did a little experiment went down into I think it was Argentina, from America, and he showed what goes on in an economy that's hyperinflated, because that's what's happening in Argentina right now. And he took one crypto, he took one Bitcoin, he took 1 ounce of gold and 1 ounce of silver. And he went and tried to get, I don't know if they were on the peso, I forget what they're on. He tried to get some dollars in Argentine money to exchange it. Nobody wanted the crypto. Nobody even wanted the gold because they wanted to take less for the gold than it was worth, like by $1,000. Because it was just, I don't know if it was the domination was too high or it was just not. It's not. They can't do anything with it at that high of a rate. I don't know. Nobody wanted the ounce, but they did want the silver, and the silver translated into equal currency. So they were able to get rid of and actually use the ounce of silver. Now the ounce or the Bitcoin, one guy said he would take it if he converted it into Tether. He didn't even want Bitcoin. He wanted Tether. And this was like going to the hip, coffee shops where all the people that are the kids that are into this crypto stuff are. They didn't want the Bitcoin. So you can just kind of translate that over to when we're in a crisis economy, in a crisis moment here in America. How are we going to exchange Bitcoin for resources? Nobody's going to want it. I surely am not going to exchange what I have for a Bitcoin. You can just pretend like you're rich all you want. At that point, when everything falls apart, nobody's going to want that. And I don't even know how you're going to pull it out if there is an effect on critical infrastructure and banking. How are you even going to get it out? And is anybody even going to want it? I mean, I don't know if you guys know this guy here, but he's a pretty well-known guy. And in the conservative movement, and he's very critical of Trump, by the way. Do you know who this guy is? Let's see if I can show you real quick. And this is just because of what's being said and what the American people are believing that isn't true, and he knows it. he knows it because it's very clear for anybody that has a little discernment, not people that are blinded by a false hope that someone's making them. Do you know who that guy is on the right? How about this guy here on the left? All right, just take a listen to this really quick and then understand that they've killed off our military. They've weakened it. There's no way we can even fight if there was a war, which there is going to be. Well, it's already happening, but I mean, where we actually have to actually send in our young men and women. But listen to what he says.
Trump's morality was for sale for 30 pieces of silver, and he has sold American lives to the drug dealers.
Or do you think that he's still trying within the limited means that he has within the bounds of this war to fight to save potentially a lot more deaths in the future?
I wanted this to be an answerable in maybe there's a multi-level chessboard and this is a move on one level to save a move on the other level. But here's the problem with that story. The problem with that story is what has happened to the military. You do not allow the Department of Defense to issue a self-inflicted harm order to the Department of Defense, where you take military men and women, people who are trained, advanced fighting forces, Navy SEALs, special forces, special air wings in the Air Force. You do not take our best defense and sideline them by forcing them to take a kill shot. You do not do that if you're playing for the same team. You would never do anything. And by the way, the current Secretary of Defense is a traitor. And we need to call it what it is. You do not weaken your own army so that a foreign party can take advantage of that weakness.
So everybody go get your shot. I recommend you take it. I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccine.
We have fewer special forces. We have fewer Marines. We have fewer defensive postures than we had 6 months ago and 8 months ago. And we did it for what? We did it because we were trying to force people to take a jab that would ultimately harm their fighting force readiness.
So everybody go get your shot. I recommend you take it. I recommend take the vaccines. I did it.
I'm a lovable guy. Come on. I rose from the dead politically because of you. It's because of you. It's because of you. It's all about you. Really. Buy my sneakers and my NFTs and my watches and everything else I want to try to sell, but it's really because of you. I didn't make a deal with the globalists. No, I didn't, even though I've got globalists all over the place in my administration. But anyways, that's the Trump derangement syndrome for all you guys out there that don't want to look at facts. All right, just for you. But anyway, we're on the brink of global World War III, and I told you that Trump would come back to oversee the ashes of what was left in America back in 2020 when I realized what was really up. Because I have my eyes wide open, and I think with my brain. An enlightened brain that I think has been cleansed. I always feel cleansed when I drink the little cup and I eat the little piece of bread. I always feel cleansed. Even though I make commitments to, and I convert to other religions depending on who's there. But anyways, yeah, you got to have a cleansed brain to understand these things. But anywho's, I guess I better get. Make sure you're connected to us. Buy all of our stuff because you're going to need it, and plus you'll help support the InfoWar. The InfoWar is about to go off the air. You got to support us, otherwise we won't be here and we won't tell you all the things you need to know. Go buy our all of our supplements and everything on our site. Actually, we do have things that you actually are going to need. So go over there and get set up, whether it's alternate power, whether, and I was channeling Alex Jones there. Get your freeze-dried foods. You're going to have to stock up. Everything's going to go up in price. You're probably not going to be able to get stuff after it all hits the fan. Everybody's going to run to the store. Everybody's going to stockpile. And it's going to be too late at that point because it's going to affect global trade. It's going to affect
Oil tankers coming in. It's going to affect everything when it all hits the fan. And I'm just, maybe you still got a little time. Maybe you still got a little time. 'Cause I don't know, we got about a month, one month left. All right, it's going to be here anytime. So get ready. God bless. And we'll talk to you soon. I'm sure I'm going to come back with some more because there's other things I need to talk about I haven't talked about yet. And I'll be back in a little bit, okay? God bless. I got to get some stuff done, and I'll be back.